busy night. We are now on day 5 of President Trump's takeover of MPD.
Attorney General Pam Bondi told Chief Pamela Smith she's appointing DEA head Terry Cole as Emergency Police Commissioner. Attorney General Bondi is also working to limit protests in the district. In a post on X, a spokesperson for Bondi said, quote, I've directed MPD to enforce Section 221307 of the D.C. Code, which makes it unlawful to crowd or obstruct streets, public or private building entrances, passage through parks, and engage in or continue demonstration where it is unlawful or after being told to cease engaging. Of course, this directive comes after multiple protests took place near police checkpoints over the week.
Are you proud of what you're doing? Are you proud?
So you may have seen this video on social media. It's from Wednesday night. It was taken on 14th Street in Northwest near one of those police vehicle checkpoints.
Joining us now to speak more about Trump's takeover of the district is at-large Councilmember Christina Henderson. Councilwoman, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So you went to bed thinking one thing, and you woke up having learned that everything sort of turned over here in the district.
Yeah, well, I actually was up last night.
Okay, there you go.
I was up when I saw that information. I was in communication with my staff and some folks who were on the ground because of the encampment clearings was beginning last night. So we were already up and having conversations when we saw this information from the U.S. Attorney General.
So what do you think about this order, this appointing this emergency police commissioner, and then A.G. Schwab telling Chief Pam Smith, look, ignore this. You still have control over MPD.
Well, I would agree with our D.C. Attorney General. I've read Section 740 of the Home Rule Act multiple times, especially over the last week. It has nothing in there about an emergency police commissioner. It very specifically says that the President of the United States can request the services of the Metropolitan Police Department. It does not provide him the authority of personnel. It certainly doesn't provide the Attorney General of the United States with the ability to revoke general orders guarding MPD. And those orders are actually in the basis of law, legal law that has been signed into effect. The Attorney General does not have the authority to be able to revoke laws unilaterally.
The Trump administration does not have a problem putting up a fight.
Sure.
They do not have a problem challenging laws, D.C. laws included. Do you envision this kind of battle between the city attorney general and the country's attorney general?
Well, if passed as a prologue, and we've seen what's happened in other jurisdictions, I guess it is just DC's time. But I'm hopeful that other states and cities are looking at what's happening here and are preparing themselves, because I don't believe that we will be the last stop on their authoritarian train.
So MPD would say we have statistics showing that crime is down. The police union would say those statistics are misleading. We know the president thinks crime is up everywhere in and around the district. What do you believe? What are you seeing out there? What are you hearing from your constituents?
Well, I would say that no city is perfect. D.C. is home to 700,000 individuals, and like any urban center across the country, right, we have our challenges and we have our issues. But what we know is that violent crime is at a 30-year low. In fact, the Department of Justice said that in January, that violent crime was at a 30-year low, and they touted and celebrated the work that had been done here. So I still stand by that this is unnecessary. It's certainly unprecedented in terms of what they're doing. But now these shifts in terms of wanting MPD to focus on immigration enforcement as opposed to robbery, homicide, theft, drugs, guns, right? Those are the things, if this was really about public safety and crime, that we would be focusing on with our federal partners. I don't know Mr. Cole, who has been given this title, if you will, but my understanding is that the Drug Enforcement Agency has a lot of work ahead of them. Even though opioid overdoses are down for fatal overdoses, they're not for non-fatal overdoses. Fentanyl is still flooding cities across the country, and I think that Mr. Cole's focus should be on that.
Given the fact that crime is down and the president has made Washington, D.C. its priority, it doesn't seem to be a major leap of thinking that this is his first major step towards taking away home rule.
Well, again, the president doesn't have the authority to unilaterally do that.
Right.
And so we've been having conversations with our allies on the Hill that would require a 60-vote threshold in the Senate. And frankly, I'm hopeful that there are not 7 Democrats who are willing to say the 700,000 people who live in the district, who pay taxes, who want to live out their part of the American dream like everyone else, should not have the authority to vote for our local elected leaders. Because that's what we're talking about here, right? We're not even at the stage of talking about statehood or 2 senators. We're talking about the ability to vote for school board and the ability to vote for council members. We're talking about zoning commissioners and the alcohol control board. That's what we're talking about in terms of local pieces here. And the last time that the federal government had control over DC, I believe it was President Nixon who was like, why are we doing this? Why am I involved in trash pickup and potholes and these other things that should be done locally by the folks who live in these communities and know what's going on?
I want to play some sound from President Trump and then get your reaction on the other side. Let's listen.
We're going to need a crime bill that we're going to be putting in, and it's going to pertain initially to D.C. We're going to use it as a very positive example. And we're going to be asking for extensions on that, long-term extensions, because you can't have 30 days.
What do you make of that? Another 30-day extension to this emergency that he's declared?
Well, this is what I'm saying. What is exactly the emergency? What are the metrics? And how do you know that the emergency is over? When none of that is defined, an emergency can continue in perpetuity. But I have to wonder, is this worth it? 450 federal police officers, hundreds of National Guard members who are doing traffic stops, right? That's what we're talking about here. When they the White House put out the list of, offenses for which individuals were arrested for, one of them was someone who was driving with a suspended license. Now, that is illegal, but did you need an FBI agent in order to be able to handle that? Or arresting someone who was riding a dirt bike in a park? Not lawful, but is that up to the talents and the time of these federal agents who, once again, could be doing lots of other things around organized crime, drugs, illegal guns, etc.?
Let's wrap back to the beginning where we started, and that was homeless encampments.
Yes.
Have you guys learned at all where the homeless are going to be shipped to?
Well, I know that was the rhetoric of the president over the I'm going to say over the weekend. We're coming up on a weekend, but I guess last weekend. And that's not been the case. And this is a little bit of some of the tension that we're facing, right? The rhetoric that you're getting from the White House and what is actually on paper or what is actually happening on the ground are 2 separate things. So last night was supposed to be the first night in terms of their major push around encampments. And, we had DC government employees who were out to provide support, social services, to request, offer shelter to individuals. And there just seemed to be some confusion about what was to happen next. And so we'll kind of see. But what I would say is thus far, it has not bared out what was threatened at the beginning of the week.
All right. At large, D.C. City Councilwoman Christine Henderson, thank you so much. In charge.
Who's in charge?
Last night, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi named DEA head Terry Cole as the Emergency Police Commissioner for D.C.
But the Attorney General for D.C., Brian Schwab, weighed in immediately, calling that move unlawful. Schwab essentially told Police Chief Smith to ignore Bondi's orders. In a memo to the chief, he said MPD officers have to continue following Smith's orders and not orders of any official the mayor did not appoint. Bondi's order also rescinded a directive issued by Chief Smith yesterday, letting D.C. police share immigration information on people not in MPD custody.
So as all of this is playing out, Mayor Muriel Bowser reportedly left D.C. Wednesday to travel to Martha's Vineyard. She shared a post on X saying she canceled a scheduled family trip to lead the city's crisis management efforts and also made the more difficult decision to not disrupt her daughter's camp plans. The mayor says she left the district to pick her daughter up and will return today. We are joined by Ward 3 Councilmember Matt Frumin. He's a longtime resident with decades of public service. He's here to discuss everything involving this takeover of the D.C. police and crime in the district.
Good morning, Matt. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate being here.
So much has happened in the past 12 hours. Let's jump in and try to make some sense of it. First of all, how does this all play out today? I'm really wondering, do you foresee open battles for control between Terry Cole and Chief Smith?
Oh, I hope there are not open battles for control. I would think anybody who tells you they can predict with certainty what today is going to bring is kidding you. But I hope that this can be sorted out. The Attorney General has been very clear, the DC Attorney General has been very clear about where authority lay. Last night, I was out to see what was happening with the various encampment clearings, and there was a lot of confusion there about what was supposed to be happening. Part of what we heard was the federal folks said, well, we were expecting DC to be doing different roles here, and there was a lack of communication, but there wasn't an effort to overturn authority. It felt like there was a failure of coordination. I hope we have something that feels more like that. I don't think we're going to have a great day today, but I hope we have something that feels more like that than a forced takeover and confrontation. I don't expect the latter.
So given what we saw overnight from Attorney General Brian Schwab, what would you tell Chief Smith to do? I mean, you're an attorney. The AG for DC is saying, you know, you don't have to follow these orders from the United States Attorney General. What would your legal advice be?
I mean, my legal advice would be exactly the legal advice that the DC Attorney General gave. The first executive order, the rhetoric of the press conference on Monday was one thing, but then the written executive order was very careful to adhere to the requirements of the DC Home Rule Act. This latest executive order flouts the DC Home Rule Act dramatically in ways that the first one did not. And so I think the law is clear here that the U.S. Attorney General has no authority to do the things that she purports to do. And the DC Attorney General is doing the absolute right thing in saying that that is not the case. What exactly we do to protect our rights, I think that's going to play out today. I don't want to get in front of anybody, but I think the district is going to stand up for its rights. And we need to have an orderly operating MPD. This is, purportedly about public safety. We needed the orderly operations of MPD in order to ensure public safety. And I sure hope that everybody will make that be the guiding star for what happens in the next days. It's not clear that that's the case, but it should be.
So, you were talking about the fact that the city attorney general put out this order and that you're hoping there won't be any problems. But this is an administration that doesn't mind following through, even if people think it's against the law. So we already know that FOP leadership supports the president's emergency action for now. And I guess maybe you won't like this question so much, but are you concerned there may be divided loyalties among officers splitting the department and in terms of what they will or won't carry out?
I mean, I think that our officers are committed to the safety of the residents of the District of Columbia. And I believe that there are differences of opinions on different kinds of policy issues, but we share a goal. And I also think that there was support issued for one step in this process, but that it's not clear that there's support for this next step in this process. And I sure hope that there will not be. We all share a goal of advancing safety in the District of Columbia. Chief Smith has done a great job in that role. And I hope that we don't have the kinds of issues that you're talking about. We're all going to see how this day plays through.
MPD would tell you crime is down. They have the stats to prove it. The police union would say, well, those stats are misleading, maybe and or incomplete. Folks out there may tell you we don't necessarily feel safe walking in parts of the city. I'm curious, from where you sit, what do you believe? What do you think is happening with crime in D.C.?
Yeah, so crime at any level is too high. And we have too much crime in the District of Columbia, as do many, many places. But crime is definitively down and down dramatically. I represent 80,000 people. And I represent one section of the city, and so it's about 85,000 people. When there is crime in the area I represent, I hear about it. I hear about it from the police commander who calls me. I hear about it from residents who are affected. I hear about it from people who see it on the listservs or who see it happening in their community. And I can definitively tell you, crime is down. I'm not hearing about it in anything like the kind of way that I was hearing about it in 2023. And part of that is crime is down everywhere, but also the council and the mayor took decisive action to try to respond to increased crime that we experienced a couple of years ago. And it worked, the things that we did. And so crime is down. Crime is down to the lowest levels in decades. Am I satisfied with that? Absolutely not. Is the chief of police satisfied with that? Absolutely not. Is the mayor satisfied? But we're doing all we can, and we have actually been quite effective. I track the crime statistics, and I believe the crime statistics, but I also believe what I know from hearing from my constituents day to day, and it is absolutely the case that crime is down in the District of Columbia.
Councilmember Matt Frumin, we're really glad you got up early to be with us this morning on what may be a very interesting day. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, and let's hope it isn't too interesting of a day, but let's hope that it's a day that the district stands up for itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you.